The Monkey is the new movie by Osgood Perkins, who directed Longlegs, which was released last year. I was very excited for Longlegs. The marketing campaign for that was amazing. I remember being on a trip all summer, so when Longlegs came out, I was very excited for it. I didn't want to know anything about it. As soon as I got back from my trip in August, I immediately went to see Longlegs. Before Deadpool and Wolverine even, I was that excited for it. And I was very disappointed by that movie. To me, it was slow, it looked pretty, it had creepy, esoteric imagery, but it wasn't that great. It was pretty dull, actually, and the reveal had a lot of exposition. It was slow. I felt the same way about the ending of The Monkey, in which the ending to me just didn't feel as satisfying as it should. Osgood Perkins kind of has a problem ending his movies or explaining things. There's always so much exposition, and I don't like that. But what I did really, really love about this movie was the tone and was the style. It has the same style of Longlegs, but I really think it works better here because the tone is much more light-hearted, if you can even say that. This is a black comedy. It's very black. And I see that this movie has been getting mixed reviews, mostly because people really don't seem to like the type of humor Osgood Perkins is displaying here. A lot of people are saying this is like a 15-year-old movie. It's something a kid would like. They just say fuck and shit and people die and it's funny. To be honest though, I really don't know, my gut tells me that I enjoyed this movie. It tells me that I enjoyed this movie until the last half, at least the last third act of it. The first two acts were pretty solid to me. And honestly, I'm gonna stick with my gut, which, I like this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I didn't love the ending, but this movie is pretty fun. And the movie follows Bill and Hal, two twins, played as adults by Theo James, but for a big chunk of the opening, which I thought would just be like 10 minutes, but it ended up being like an extended, 30-minute opening, which is totally fine with me. They're played by two child actors who grew up with their mom, Tatiana Mansley. You never find out what happens to their dad, but it's implied that he's, in the very first scene actually, he's killed by a monkey. The dad is played by Adam Scott, and I love the cold open in this movie where you get the style right away. A guy brings a monkey into an antique shop and he's saying, you have to get rid of it, it's cursed. I love the opening. I think the opening is a great hook. It really gets you interested in what's going to happen. It also introduces this idea that cool chain reaction deaths are going to happen right away. However, I will say that the first death that occurs in the Adam Scott scene is very well set up and paid off. There are deaths that happen later in the movie that don't have that level of buildup. And it's very simple, the first thing, with a spear gun. It's set up very simply. You're in an antique shop, there's a spear gun, and then the next thing you know, it goes off after the monkey puts its hand down on the drum. The rest of the movie really had trouble living up to the opening of this film, I thought. And when they're kids, too, and their family members are dying. This movie does have a lot of guts, though, because it really needs to commit to being a black comedy in order to work. And it easily could have been far more cheesy than I think people think it is. I've seen some pretty negative reviews for this. People who are saying that it's the inverse of Longlegs, which it is. But at the same time, I really just had a good time with this. I like the narration. I like the time period. I like the simple dialogue and just how this movie is effectively a vehicle to show a bunch of cool kills. Now, not all those kills work. There's a scene in here, later in the movie, where you see there's been a whole bunch of deaths, and they just show a montage of random deaths, like someone getting bit by a snake, someone getting their face, burned. But the ones at the beginning are so excellently set up, and there's just such great characters here. I loved Elijah Wood's very brief role. I love the character of Uncle Chip, who gets crushed by horses. And I really think the imagery and sound design is top-notch. The movie kind of peters out as it goes on and tries to get to the bottom of this cursed monkey. And it doesn't even really need to give this ending where it feels so satisfying. I think it could have had a better ending. But the more I think about it, I like how this is just dark gallows humor throughout. It even ends on a dark gallows humor note, with these characters of cheerleaders who have small roles throughout the movie. And then at the end, there's this funny bit with them where they all get decapitated. It just fully commits, and I think that's what makes this movie work. It's a bit overstuffed, even though it's 95 minutes, but it fully commits to just being bonkers, crazy, very darkly funny, and at the same time, it has this weird composition with Dutch angles and characters standing really small in the bottom of a huge frame, so it looks pretty unsettling and uncomfortable. Overall, I just did have a good time with The Monkey, and I'm wondering what other people thought of it. It is honestly the best horror movie of 2025 that I saw so far. I mean, if we're counting The Damned, Companion, Hard Eyes, which is technically horror comedy, but so is The Monkey. This one has the best style of all those. Like, Hard Eyes is horror comedy with romance, but it does feel very modern, very generic, very, like, cookie cutter. I thought that The Monkey really is trying its hardest to feel like a old throwback movie, like the 80s slasher movies, or just something very quirky and weird from that time period. There really aren't movies made that like have this exact feeling, or the art design. Like, I see people giving this 1 or 2 stars saying this is just a vehicle for, you know, having kills and it's cheesy and it's middle school humor. But you can't really deny that the director, Osgood Perkins, is putting on such a great show here. There's everything you want. It looks great. The actors are great. It has like really cool like comedy. It's just like a very particular type of movie, and it's very immersive. Longlegs was immersive, but it was boring. It wasn't like entertaining. It had this cool serial killer concept, but I was never really able to think it was believable. Not that The Monkey's believable, but it's just a fun throwback movie. It really felt like a cheesy, weird 80s movie you'd find like on YouTube or on Tubi or something, and I love that. So I did really like The Monkey. I thought it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching.